Welcome to the Westcott Crochet channel and welcome to the Pink Hearts and Puffy Sleeve sweater. If there is a written pattern, there'll be a link in the description box. There are a number of different elements to this one. I highly recommend that you watch the tutorial the whole way through before deciding whether to take it on. The sweater can be made up around a granny square if you're not into the hearts. If you're just here for the puffy sleeve, there's a timestamp in the description box so you can skip right to it. For this project, my yarn recommended a 4mm hook. I used a 4mm and a 4.5mm. I also used a tape measure, stitch markers, and a yarn needle to weave in my ends. If you like this one, show the algorithm that I exist by tapping the thumbs up button, and do share it with any crochet friends. Also, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to support future releases. You can now also follow me on Instagram if your account is set to public. Do tag me in on any pictures of your Westcott crochet projects. A while back I worked up this square in this lovely hearts pattern. Just a bit of a therapy crochet session for me. I like to work with little patterns and just play with the stitches. So I worked up this square and then I wasn't quite sure. I couldn't decide what to do with it. And today I'm going to work it up into a wearable. I'm going to work up a small version of this just to show you the stitch pattern. There's no point making up this giant thing. But really you could make this up with any square that you prefer. So if you don't like working this stitch pattern, then work up a granny square maybe. So I'm going to work up a sort of swatch, I guess. It needs to be a multiple of 6 stitches. Starting with the pale colour, for me is this off-white and a 4mm hook, which my yarn recommends. I'm going to work a chain of 30. So the chain needs to be a multiple of 6. For the full size version, measure from the edge of one shoulder across to the edge of the other and just work a multiple of 6 chains up, round up or down to the nearest multiple of 6. So as I say, for me, 30 for this small sample section. Got my 30 chains. I'm going to chain an extra 2. One is a turn chain, one is a space of 1. So from the third chain, I'm going to work the back loop. And from the third back loop, I'm going to work a single crochet. And then in the next 4, I'm going to work 4 more single crochets. So I've got 5 in total. Chain 1, skip 1, and then work 5 more. Chain 1, skip 1, work 5 more, and keep doing that until the end of the row. At the end of the row, I have 1 chain space left. I'm going to chain 1 and just slip stitch into there. Just pull up a loop a little and add a stitch marker just to hold it. Moving on now to the pink. My hook is inserted into the space where I chained 1 and slip stitched, so I've left a little space just beneath. Pull through a loop. Chain 1 and turn. I'm going to work a single crochet into that chain space. And I'm going to follow up with 2 doubles into the same space. Then I'm going to chain 3 into the next space, 2 doubles, one single, and 2 doubles. Chain 3, next space, 2 doubles, 1 single, 2 doubles, chain 3, work the same into the next space to the end. Here at the last space, I'm going to work a double, a second double, and a single. Now, I'll take that out of there and add it into this side to hold my stitch. And we come back over to the pale colour. So hook back into the pale colour, chain 1 and turn, single crochet on top of the single crochet, chain 2, and here in between we actually have 5 stitches, but you can only really see 3 of them because the last and the first are obscured by the pink sort of a shell, the heart. So if you see the 3 in the middle, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to work 1 and 3. So really it's 2 and 4. But as long as you're working either side of this center stitch, then you're good. So the chain 2, then going in for a double crochet. So in through that stitch, around this chain, I'm going to encompass this chain into the stitch. Chain 1, and then work the second one, missing that center one, into the other side. There. Chain 2, on top of the single crochet, which is the center of your heart, work a single crochet, chain 2, and again we're back to a space. So here and here, technically 2 and 4, but again either side of that center stitch. 1, chain 1, and in with the second one. And that's the pattern for row 2. So again, chain 2, single crochet on top of the single there, in the middle of the heart, chain 2, double, chain 1, double, chain 2, single, and so on. And back, just work the 2 double crochets. I'm going to chain 2, work a single crochet on top of this single crochet, and then I'm going to just slip stitch down at the bottom here just to anchor the collar. Oops, so pull through all loops to slip stitch. I'm just going to pull up the loop at this point. I should put in a stitch marker to hold it, but it just keeps clocking on the board, so it's a bit irritating for you watching. So put a stitch marker in to hold your loop, otherwise it can unravel and cause a huge mess. So that's the white row. At this stage I've decided that this is the front, so it must always be the front because I need to make sure that my white trails up the front and the dark colour trails up the back. So I'm going to chain 4, start this next row and turn around, and I'm going to work a heart between these 2 double crochets. So 2 doubles, a single, and 2 doubles for the heart. and then chain 3, another heart in between the next set of 2 doubles. Same again, chain 3, work the heart, chain 3, work the heart, chain 3, work the heart to the end. Here at the end, I'm going to chain 4, just like I did when I started. And I'm going to slip stitch into the back here, just through the pink loop. And as I say, add a stitch marker to hold your stitch. Back on with the pale colour. I'm going to chain 1 and turn around. I'm going to work a single crochet around the chain. I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, and then into the gap here, just underneath the white chain, work a double. Chain 2, single crochet on top of the heart in the center there, the 3rd stitch. Chain 2, and now I'm working my pairs of doubles like I did here, but instead of working the stitches like on row 1, or row 2 as it was, I'm working into these gaps. So into the first one with the first double, chain 1, next gap for the second double, chain 2, center of the heart, single crochet, chain 2, next pair of doubles with a chain 1 in between, chain 2, single, chain 2, double, chain 1, double, all the way to the end. At the end here, I've just single crocheted on top of my last heart, chain 2, work a double under the chain, chain 1, and the next double I'm going to catch up with this corner stitch at the chain, just to anchor that to the white. And that's that row. Moving back onto the pink, I'm at the back, so I'm going to chain up the back with the pink. So I'm going to chain 4. Don't work tight chains, otherwise you're going to pull your work in. If you find that you're not able to chain loosely enough, chain 5, because you don't want it to start dragging the work down. So chain 4 otherwise, and make sure that your pale colour, your white, or whatever colour you've gone for, is at the front. So it needs to be in front of this chain, not behind it. So chain 4 and work a single crochet in between these 2 double stitches, and then 2 doubles. Chain 3 and work a heart into the next space between the 2 doubles. And you'll do that the whole way across. Chain 3, work a heart, chain 3, work a heart in between the 2 doubles each time. At the end, 2 doubles in the last space and a single. I'll be back there. At the end of that row, I worked my 2 doubles and a single into the last space, and then I'll leave it there. Going back to the white, oops, if I can. and chain one and turn around. And from here it's a repeat of what went on down here. So I'm going to single crochet into the first single crochet, chain two, work the 2 double crochets, the chain one in between, chain two, single into the middle of the heart, all the way across to the end where I'll single crochet on top of that single crochet and just slip stitch below here to grab hold of this white yarn. Just to demonstrate that, here at the end, work the last 2 double crochets, chain 2, single crochet into the top of the single crochet, and then just grab up a loop from there and slip stitch just to anchor it there. And then I'm back onto the pink where I will chain 4, work a heart, chain 3, heart, chain 3, heart, all the way across where I'll chain 4 and slip stitch into the back with the pink. So I'm going to put some details up on screen just to explain the colour changes. I'm also going to add timestamps to the description box so you can skip back and forth if you need to follow the instructions. But from here it's a repeat of, I think, well, each pink row has 2 different starts, each white row has 2 different starts. So that's what I'm going to list in the details. I'm going to work up a few more rows just to give this swatch a decent size, and then I can show you how I go around and work an edging. For the row repeats, white row version 1, you're essentially forming a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet start, and you'll end in the same way. For the pink row that follows, the version 1, you're starting and ending with a half heart. White row version 2, which follows on from that, you're starting and ending with a single crochet on top of the single crochet stitch at the edge of your half hearts. Pink row version 2, which follows on, you'll start with a chain 4 and dive straight into your first full heart between the 2 double crochet posts. Then it's just a case of repeating. Check the timestamps in the description box if you need to jump back and re-watch any row. I've worked my sample piece. For the full size piece, this is the top of your shoulder. It needs to reach up to the top of your shoulder, and then you just work down the length to whatever length that you want, bearing in mind there's a little bottom trim to go on. I've finished on a white row, which you need to do, and I've worked the opposite white row to the one that I worked on my actual piece. Here I ended up with a double crochet start, so it's effectively, I mean, it's a single crochet into the corner plus a chain 3, which is the double crochet and chain 1 space, and then the second double crochet there. So it's essentially 2 double crochet start. Here I've gone for the single crochet start where I then chain 2 and work the doubles. On your panel, as I have the sample panel, otherwise you have these holes like I have in my actual panel. This version's better. So for the edging, I should just show you the back. This is what my back looks like. There's a pink chain running all the way up the back. It's different on this side. It's intermittent, but it's on the back, so no one minds. I'm going to work an edging all the way around twice now, and you need to determine which direction you're going into, because whichever direction you go into, you need your right side to be facing towards you. So for me, I need to work down this edge. If I were over here, I'd have to work back in the direction from which I came. So either chain 1 and work right back along your stitches, or chain 1 and work down this side. So I'm going to work down this side first because that's the direction that I'm going in, but eventually I will get up to here and show you what you want to do along the top edge. So I'm going to chain 1. If you're going back the way you came, you also need to chain 1 and start back into the very first stitch. That's the slip stitch, I should point out. So this is the very first stitch, not the slip stitch, when you're going back that way. Okay, so I'm going to work 2 single crochets everywhere I see pink. So here is the first one. poke through, work 1, work 2. Next one, 1, 2, and then here, and all the way down. Same thing. So here, 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 all the way down to the bottom. That's side number 1 at the bottom. Chain 1 to turn the corner and just work 1 stitch in each along the bottom. Oops. Along the bottom, you're going to come to these chain spaces where you skip to stitch. There's no stitch on top of it, so just work that one as well. Don't skip it on this occasion. And then just carry on across. That's all the way across the bottom. Make sure you work all of your stitches. I've worked 30 because I did a 30 chain. So the 2 corner points are the ones you might miss, so just make sure you get those. Chain 1 to turn the corner, and again where I see pink I'm going to work 2 single crochets. I'm going to skip this chain and ignore it completely. So along the top, we've got more stitches now because of the way the pattern works. You get more stitches along the top than you started with at the bottom, because that's just how it works up. So to even that out, I'm going to do some decreases wherever I have a chain 2 space. It won't make it perfect probably, but it'll even it out a lot more. So chain 1 at the corner. There's a single crochet to start with, so put 1 stitch in there. And then I'm straight onto a chain 2. So in once, pull back a loop, into stitch number 2, pull back a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 3 loops. Then I've got the double crochet, so I'm going to put 1 stitch in there, 1 stitch for the chain 1 space, another one for the double crochet, oops, and then I'm onto a chain 2 again. So again, 1, pull through a loop, number 2, pull through a loop, and then through all of them. And then you've got 1 on its own again, and so on. So everywhere you've got a chain 2, work the 2 stitches together to form 1. All the way around now. Just going to slip stitch into chain 1 that I did at the first stitch, just to close that. I'm going to change my hook size now from a 4mm to a 4.5. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to keep going in the same direction, and into the corner where I have the chain 1 space still, I'm going to put 3 single crochets. It's going to be a bit tight because I've got the bigger hook. Oops. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And then I'm going to put 1 stitch in every stitch, all the way down. Don't forget that very first stitch, you might have to pull back your 3 stitches just to find that, it might be obscured. So all the way down to the bottom, 1 stitch in each. At the bottom I'll find another chain 1 space. I'm going to put 3 into there. Work around along the other side, 3 into the next corner, back up, 3 into here, and back up to close. So that's me all the way around for the second time. I'm going to slip stitch into the very first single crochet, which was the cluster of 3 from the first corner. At this point, my sample piece has reached the same stage as my full-sized piece, but I'm just going to keep going on this size because it's easier to film. So I've just slip stitched to close the round. I'm going to slip stitch again so that I'm into the centre stitch of the cluster of 3. From here, I'm switching to double crochets. So you can either chain 3 and turn your work, and then work 2 double crochets into that same stitch. In this instance, that's just 2 double crochets. The chain 3 was there just to build up your yarn. So I'll work all the way around into the centre stitch in each corner. So you've got 3 in each corner. Into the centre stitch, you'll work 3 double crochets, and then work all the way around. At the end, work a 3rd double crochet into this same stitch that you started into, and push your chain 3 to the back of your work, whichever side that happens to be. If it's that side, you need to put for this side, and you're going to slip stitch into the top of the first actual double crochet to close, and that just obliterates the chain 3. It's literally just there to build up the yarn to the height. For me, I'm going to work a standing double right from the spot. So I'm going to turn without chaining, pull up my yarn to the height of a double crochet, hold the yarn on my hook, wrap the loop around my hook, in through the stitch, pull back a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then I'll work a second, and in exactly the same way I'll work a 3rd when I finish and slip stitch into the top of the first one. Here I am at the end. Last stitch goes into the corner with the other 2, and for me I'm slip stitching into the top of my standing double. I do recommend you try the standing double, it just makes everything look a bit neater than the chain start. So from this point on, I'm going to keep working in rounds, changing direction each time, 3 in each corner stitch, and then 1 everywhere else. At the moment, or at the point after the single crochet stitches, my full-size panel reached from the edge of one shoulder to the edge of the other. I'm going to keep adding on rounds now until it actually spills over the edge of my shoulder, and I also get the length that I want at the same time. So I'm not sure how many rounds I'm going to put on yet. I'll just keep going and I'll come back when I'm done. I'm back. 2 rounds of double crochet was enough for me. At the top, where I finished off the second round, I came back to about just less than a 1/3 of the way in, cut my yarn from there, reattached over here at the corresponding point on the other side, and worked to the edge here. So the last stitch is the centre of the 3, and similarly the first stitch was the centre of the 3, and that just leaves a little scoop for my neck. In addition to that, this width is at least, it's got to be at least half the circumference of the widest part of your body. So measure all the way around your body and divide that by 2. If you want a looser fit, make more. Mine's just more than half, so I'll have a little bit of a looser fit. So from here I need to make a back panel. Across the top here I have 70 stitches. I'm going to work a single crochet edge down the back panel. So I'm going to work 68 chains, just allowing for the 2 single crochet rows along the edge. I have my 68 chains. From here you can either chain an extra 2, and then the first 3 chains are your first double crochet, and then you'd start working your next double crochet into the 4th back loop from your hook. So these are the back loops. Just flip the chain over. I'm going to work a standing double into chain number 1. I'm just going to twist my loop to start with because it hasn't had the natural twist from the change of direction. So it just holds the loops together, hold my loop, wrap it around, in through the stitch. Just have to nudge that on. There we go. Pull back a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's stitch number 1. And then in every back loop I'm going to work a double crochet. So it's the full double crochet row. Chain 1 at the end, turn around and work a single crochet row. And that's what I'm going to do now until I get the height of the front panel, alternating between double crochet, single crochet rows. Either work your chain 3 start for your double crochet row, then remember to work into that chain 3 on your way back at the end of the next row, or work a standing double. Either way, it's going to take a while. I'm going to crack on and I'll be back. I'm back. I'm just side on here to show you that my back panel is now the same height as my front panel. You can see it's side on because of the hearts. Next job is to edge the back panel with a single crochet row. Typically, I'd put 2 single crochet into the side of each double crochet and 1 into each single crochet row. That would give me 78 running along my back panel because I have 26 pairs of rows. Problem with that, I need my back panel stitch count of single crochets to match my front panel stitch count, and because of the different stitch pattern and the different hook size, I used a 4mm for the front and I've used a 4.5 for the back. It doesn't match, so I need to make it match. So from the front panel, going from this bottom corner where I have 3 stitches, the middle one I'm going to count as the side. It counts as both the side and the bottom. But so from that middle stitch all the way up to the top where I have the double crochet row for the collar, the scoop for the collar, that counts as 2. So I have 68 stitches running along my front panel. So 68 here, I would have 78 here, so I've got 10 too many. I need to lose 10 as I work this single crochet row. So the easiest way to do that is to lose 10 from the double crochet stitches. Instead of adding 2, I'll just add 1 10 times. As I said, I've got 26 double crochet rows, so I need to lose 10 out of those 26 rows. So every 2.6 I need to lose 1. If I round that number up to 3, I wouldn't be losing enough. I'd have to lose 2 more. It only takes me to 8. If I round it down, it's too many. So if I do every other double crochet row, I'd have 13 reductions instead of the 10 that I need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round it down to 2. So every other double crochet, I'll work 1 stitch instead of 2, bar these 3 that I've marked out. And I've just spaced these out randomly, just so that they're spaced out along the row. Just make sure that they are 1 that I would otherwise be working 1, and then I'll be working 2. So this would be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. I've marked it so that it's now a 2, and that would be a 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Marked so that it's now a 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Marked so that it's now a 2. And that evens up my stitch count. The same stitches that I've marked here, I've followed the line down and marked the same stitch on the other side to make sure that I'm doing the exact same thing as I edge the other side as well. So to work the stitches, chain one at the end where I left off. Last row was a single crochet row, so I need to put a stitch in there. Next row is a double, and I'm going to put 2 in the first one. Next row is a single, 1 in there, and then the next double, just 1 in there. Single, 1 in there, and you know what's next, double gets 2. So I'll just follow down as I said. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, except for the ones that I've marked where I'll deviate from the alternating pattern and put 2. But just remember then the next one is also a 2 because that was technically a 1, if that makes sense. So I'm going to work all the way down. I'll be back at the end. That's all the way down here at the bottom corner. I'm actually going to just catch up that bottom stitch and just slip stitch, pull that tight, and I can chain 1 and cut and just work the same thing on the other side. Here at the other side I worked from top to bottom, side 1. I'm going to work from bottom to top on side 2 so that the right side is facing me the whole time. So I'm just going to join into the bottom stitch, and my first double crochet is a single stitch because I ended with a single over here. So start with a single, 2 in the next, 1 in the next, 2 in the next, and then I'm on a marked one where I'd put 2 where would otherwise be 1. So whilst I'm here, I'm going to show you how I seam up a shoulder. I've got the 2 good sides facing each other on the inside, and on the white side I'm not going to use the top 2 loops, which are here and here and here. I'm going to use the front loop only and the one that's just next to it. So it's like it's still 2 loops, but it's just the side 2 loops as opposed to the top 2, you can see. So there's the top 2, whoops, there, and here's the side 2. So I'm going in through those. So I'm just going to pop my loop back on because I'm still on. Into the first 2 loops, top 2 on the back, that's fine because it's all the same colour. I'm going to pull through and single crochet. Oops. So again, side 2 loops on this white, top 2 on the back, and single crochet. I'm going to do that until I get to the scoop part that I'd worked out for the neckline, so to here. And I can chain 1 and cut. This is how the seam looks on the right side. So using that alternate back loop there on the white row, I've got a nice clean line. Just work the same seam on the other side, and I'm away to work out a sleeve. I'm back. I've seamed up one side and I did a big old sleeve. I'm going to do the same again on the other side. For the seam, I'm going to work up from the bottom and then start the sleeve from there. For the sleeve, I need a stitch count multiple of 10 minus 2. So here I've marked out 34 stitches down one side, counting out 2 for the double crochet, and 34 stitches down the back. As with the shoulders, I'm going to work the seam on the inside. So these are the 2 good sides facing each other on the inside. I'm going to go in through the back loops on the white, again like the shoulder, and 2 loops, the regular loops, on the pink, the dark colour. So for the bottom, I'm at the bottom, 3 stitches mark the corner, going into the centre stitch, the back 2 loops. These are the regular 2. I'm going through this one, the front one, as I'm looking at it, and the one next to it. So this front loop will remain open and empty on the front side. So into those 2 and the regular 2 for the pink, put on a slip knot, pull it through, chain 1. So into that same stitch I'm going to work a single crochet, or that same pair of stitches. And the next one, leaving that front loop empty on the white, regular 2 loops on the pink, and I'm just going to single crochet my way up this seam, matching stitch for stitch for both sides until I get to my markers. That's my seam, worked all the way up to, but not including the marked stitches. Here it is on the wrong side, and here on the right side. I'm now going to turn it right side out to work around the arm opening. So I'm now right side out. These are the 2 marked stitches, and these are the 2 stitches that I've just worked at the last part of the seam. I'll chain 1, I'm going to insert my hook through one of those stitches that I've just worked for the seam, pull back a loop, in through the second one, pull back a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and that's my first single crochet. I'll take this out because it's in the way. 1 stitch in each now, single crochet all the way up the back to the shoulder seam. Here at the shoulder, I'm going to put 1 in the centre. Now I've got the double crochet that I worked for the next scoop. I'm going to put 2 in there. Just try and grab up a couple of loops in the centre. Oops, got an extra bit there. Then I'm on to regular stitches. I'm going to leave this front loop open, work the back 2 loops, all the way down to the bottom. Back round at the start, going all the way around the arm opening. Just going to slip stitch into stitch number 1 to close that off. So with the 2 stitches that I added, 1 at the bottom or 1 at the top, I now have a multiple of 10 going all the way around the armhole. So I had 34 up one side, 34 down the other, making 68, and 2. So I've got 70. Starting from this stitch here, which is where I'm going to start my next round, going all the way up to the top, I now have 36 stitches. I'm going to start with 6 on this next round. I'm going to keep going in the same direction because I want my double crochet stitches to be on the outside so that the work is facing me whilst I work my double crochet stitches. So I'm going to start with a standing double. If you want to, chain 3 in place of it. So into that same stitch, or chain 3 out of that same stitch, and then I'm going to work 5 more for me. So you want your top stitch to be the 10th stitch in the round. So as I say, for me, I've got 36 going up to the top, so I need to work 6 to start with to ensure that my top stitch will be the 10th in this sequence. There's 6 double crochet into the 6th stitch. I'm going to put a second one. Then I'm going to work 10 more. Into the 10th stitch, work second one. And that's what I'm going to do all the way around. Work 10 into the 10th, add a second stitch. All the way around to the back, the first part, start, finish, can't speak. And I should have 4 stitches because I started with 6, so the last 4 stitches make up the 10. That's all the way around. Back at the beginning, I'm going to slip stitch into the top of stitch number 1. If you chain 3, you slip stitching into the 3rd chain. Chain 1 and turn around. If you're keeping track of your stitch count, for every 10 stitches that you had, you've added an extra 1. So for me, I had 70, so I've now got 77. Into the top of that same stitch, I'm going to work a single crochet. I'm going to put 1 in each all the way around. I've gone all the way around with my single crochet row, slip stitched into the first single crochet to close. Either at this point chain 3 and turn, or turn and work a standing double into the same stitch that you just slip stitched into. Okay, I'm going to work another round of increases. Where I've got double crochet rows, I'm working increases. Where I've got single crochet rows, just 1 stitch in each. Normally, when you're working increases, you like to stagger them. So you move them on at a different place each round. So you don't have a definite line where it's actually increasing, you can see. This time, I actually want the line. So I'm going to increase at the same spot each time. So however many stitches you worked on that first round, I worked 6. On this round, I need to work 7 and then increase. And then for the 10s, I need to work 11 and then increase. So for me, 6, and then 2 in the, 7, as I worked 6 last time, 7, and then 2 in the 7th, and then 11 and 2 in the 11th, all the way around. Everybody will be on 11, but it depends, it's going to differ how many you have at the beginning. So here I am for me, stitch number 7, and as you can see, I'm bang smack in the middle of my last increase. So I work 2 on top of there, and then carry on and work 11 for the next one. And I'll be here, and I'll work 2 on top of the last increase. So if you're not a stitch counter, you don't need to count in this instance, you just find the centre of the last one and double up again. That's the second round of double crochet increases. I've now got another 7 stitches added to the total. And from here, I work a single crochet round. So I'm going to chain 1, turn round, put a single crochet in that very same stitch. Work it all the way around, 1 stitch in each. And I'm going to work 2 more rounds of double crochet increases. The increases are just going to go onto the top of the last increase, again as I did before. So where I worked, if you're a counter, I worked 6 and then 7, I'll then work 8 and then 9. And where we had 10, we then had 11, 12 and then 13. Make sure you add your single crochet rounds in between your double crochet rounds, and don't forget to turn direction each time before each round. After 4 rounds of increases in the double crochet rows, I've now got an extra 28 stitches, so I've got 98 now in total. From here I'm going to work on the length of the sleeve, so I'm just going to keep repeating the alternating rows without doing any more increases. I'm going to work 11 pairs of rows. At the end of my other sleeve, I worked 5 pairs of rows in decreases to get the sleeve to come back in again, and I also added 4 double crochet rows for the cuff. Measure on your arm how long you want your sleeve to be, measure the same distance on your back panel and count how many rows. Then you just need to deduct a bit for the cuff and the decrease section to find out how much this next section is going to be. For the decrease rounds, we're looking to reduce the sleeve width way down. Work towards the width of your lower arm so that you can pull up a sleeve. The cuff stitch pattern will bring it in further whilst creating stretch. You'll be losing 12 stitches per round, so work out how many stitches you need to lose and how many rounds that's going to take. I went from 98 stitches to 38, losing 60 stitches over 5 rounds. I then worked a final single crochet row, working any further reductions, just taking out a handful of stitches to perfect my count. Now you know how long you want your sleeve to be, you know how many rounds to deduct for your decreases, so just take off a little bit extra for the actual cuff, and you can work up the rest now without any increases or decreases. I worked up another 11 pairs of rows on top of the 4 pairs that I'd already worked with the increases, so I've now got a total of 15 pairs of rows. I'm now going to work decreases on the next 5 pairs of rows so that the sleeve comes back in again before I put on a cuff. I'm going to work 6 decreases on the circuit, and each decrease is going to take up 3 stitches. So 6 times 3 is 18. I currently have 98 stitches. If I deduct my 18, that takes me down to 80. And I want to space the 6 decreases out evenly. So I'll take my 80 and divide it by 6, which gives me 13.33. I'm going to round that down because it's closer to 13 than it is to 14. And any surplus will be worked into the first group. So to find out what that surplus is going to be, I take 13, multiply it by 6, and I have 78. So I know that I'm 2 short. So for the 80, I've got an extra 2. So first group is going to be 15, every other group is going to be 13. If it works out that you're rounding up on your figures, then you'll work out with your first group with less stitches than the rest of them, but it's fine, you're not going to notice it. So my first group of 15, I'm actually going to split in half and work half on either side of my central seam here. Obviously I can't split 15 in half because it's an uneven number, but again, I'm not concerned about that. I'm going to work 7 on one side and 8 on the other. If you can split it in half, all the better, but not a big thing if you can't. So for me, I'm going to start with 7. There's my 7. Next 3, I'm going to work together for the decrease. So yarn over into the stitch, pull back a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops only. Yarn over for the second, into the stitch and pull back a loop. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops again. Yarn over into stitch number 3, pull back a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops again. Left with 4 loops on the hook and 3 half finished double crochets. Yarn over, pull through all 4 to finish them off. So as I said, I'm now going to work 13 and then decrease again, and then 13 and decrease again, and I'll end the round with 8 for me on this side. Worked my entire decrease round, and then I followed up with a single crochet round, just 1 stitch in each. I'm now onto a double crochet row, and I'm going to decrease again. I started before with 7, and this time I'm going to start with 6, so I'm taking 1 off. And 6. I'm going to work the next 3 together, And then in between I worked 13. On my last decrease round I'm going to take 2 off and work 11. There's my 11. I'm going to decrease into the next 3. I'm going to do that all the way around now. So 11, decrease, 11, decrease. At the end, where I previously had 8, I should have 7. After the second round of decreases, I followed up with a single crochet row, 1 stitch in each. I'm now back on a decrease row. I'm going to work 3 more decrease rows with single crochet rows in between. So that'll be 5 pairs of rows in total. And every time I come to a decrease round, the space in between the decreases lessens by 2 stitches. The difference being this first gap which spans the join, where you'll lose 1 at this side and 1 at this side of the join. Everywhere else, just drop 2 and work your way around. After those 5 pairs of rows, reductions on the double crochet rounds, this is what the sleeve looks like. It's curved in nicely. I'm on a single crochet round now, and I'm going to perfect my stitch count on this final round of single crochet. So I'm going to lose another 6 actually. I've got 38 at the moment. I'm going to lose another 6. So 6 into 38 goes 6.33 times. So every 6th and 7th stitch I'm going to work together on my round. I need to make sure I've got an even number of stitches at the end. So I'll just be careful as I approach the end and make sure that I'm evening that out. So I'm going to chain 1 to turn as usual into stitch number 1 with 1 stitch. So I'll just turn myself around. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 is going to be 2 together. So 1, 2, and that's 6. So again, 1, 2, whoops, I've gone 2 too many, 3, 4, and 5, and then 6 is 2 together. I'll do that all the way around. I'll get back round to the start. So I've gone all the way around and I've got 3 stitches at the end. I know that I'm on an even number so far because I've been working in batches of 6. So I need to turn this 3 into 2. I'm going to work the first one on its own, and then the last 2 together, and then just slip stitch into stitch number 1 to close that off. So that's reduced in as much as I need to, and I've now got an even number of stitches. It's still quite loose if you look at the size wise, but when I put on the back post, front post cuff, that's going to pull that in a little bit further. So once you're happy with your cuff width, we're onto the cuff. So I'm going to turn around and I'm going to work a double crochet row, 1 stitch in each, all the way around. So row 1 on the cuff, just a straightforward double crochet round. I'm now going to start back post, front post stitches. If you're chaining 3 to start, that's going to be your first back post stitch, or in place of. I'm going to work a standing back post double crochet. So wrap my loop and then just back on myself and come up in front of the post and back out the other side. So pushing the post backwards, pull back a loop and finish the stitch. Then I'm going to work a front post, so I'm pushing the post forwards, and then a back post, pushing the post back, forwards and backwards, alternating the whole way around. Because I've got an even number of stitches, I'll end with a front post. So that's the first back post, front post row. Then I have to turn around and come at it from the other side. So now my first stitch is a front post because it was previously a back post on the other side. Again, if you're chaining 3, you're chaining 3. And my next stitch, I'm going to go back post, keeping it back. So wherever it's back, keep it back. Wherever it's front, keep it front. And again, just alternate all the way around. I'm going to keep working these rows now until I put the length of cuff that I want. Switching direction each time. I'll be back when I'm done. After 4 rounds of back post, front post, double crochet, this is what it looks like. I've just chained one at the end to secure my work. Cut the yarn and whip that through. Moving on to a neckline, I've just put my hook into the centre stitch at the back there. I'm going to add on a slip knot. Pull that through. Oops. And chain up 1. There we go. And now I'm just going to turn around so that I'm working back in this direction. So starting into the stitch into which I've just slip stitched, I'm going to work my first single crochet and then 1 in each the whole way across. I'm just weaving in a tail end as I go. I'll be back when I get to the shoulder. So I've worked half of the back, single crochets. I'm now at the shoulder stitch. Oops. And I'm at the double crochet where I worked for the next scoop. So I'm just going to put 2 single crochets in that double crochet. I'm just picking up loops sort of from the back because I've changed colour. I'm going into the white with the pink. It's just a little bit less conspicuous that way. Right, so for around the white stitches, I'm again going into the back loop and the one next to it. 1 in each. You can probably see better from this position, the back loop and the one next to. So there's the top 2 loops again, back loop, loop right next to it. Worked all the way across the front. I'm here now at the double crochet again that leads up for the next scoop. So 2 in there again. Oops. And then pick up with the stitches across the back. Work the rest of the back, slip stitch into stitch number 1. So here's the neckline with just a row of single crochet just to neaten that up. If you're happy with that, stop there. I'm actually going to add on a couple of rounds of back post, front post. If you're stopping here, chain 1, cut your yarn, whip that through, and weaving your end. If you're going for back post, front post, make sure that you've got an even number of stitches around your neckline. If you haven't, at this point, whoops, just whip out your last stitch and skip it and just slip stitch straight into there, and we're not going to notice. As I say, I do have an even number, so I need to pop that back in. And then slip stitch. So I'm going to work back post, front post, double crochet straight from this single crochet row. So the first one is the one that I just slip stitched into. So either you're going to chain 3 and start into the next one, or like me, work the standing double. And in through the back to the front, and then back out through the back. And then again, front to back, back to front, for the front post. Next one's pushed back. Oops. Next one's pushed forward. And so on all the way around. So it's exactly the same as when you're going from from a double crochet row, but we're just working from a single crochet row. So that was pushed forward, this one's pushed back. And you're working around the post, not into the actual stitches. So this is the post, it's just a little bit shorter. That's 2 rounds of back post, front post on the collar, around the neckline. I'm going to do the same thing around the bottom, joining at the centre back. So at the bottom of my jumper, I've gone for the centre back, added on a slip knot, and I'm going to chain 1 into that same stitch, single crochet. I'm going in with the direction so that the stitches are facing towards me, so my work is facing towards me. I'm going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch, all the way around. The only tricky parts are at the joins, and I'll meet you back at the first one. Here at the side seam, I just want it to look as neat as possible. I'm going to put 1 stitch in the last stitch. Whoops. I'm going to put 1 stitch in the actual seam, and then onto the white, I mean the corner stitch here where I actually joined the 2 sides, I'm going to put 1 in there as well. And from there, I'm back to the back loop and the loop next to it to go transition white to pink. Just work that all the way around. Same thing on the other side with the seam. Slip stitch into stitch number 1, making sure if you're going for the back loop, front loop rounds afterwards that you've got an even number of stitches, same as the neckline. I went 2 rounds of back post, front post around the bottom, and that's me. If you do all of that, you'll have one of these. If you like what you've made, spread the joy and share the video with your crocheting friends. As always, thank you so much for watching today.